Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education. It is March 8th, and we are going right into executive session to begin our meeting. So it's consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 20A MRS section 4056E for consultation with legal counsel concerning the board's legal rights and responsibilities. Is there a motion? Motion was by Board Member Russell Better, seconded by Board Member Burke. All in favor, just with a show of hands. And actually, we are in the need of one additional board member. So we're just going to hang tight for a moment. Please bear with us. All right. So there's a motion to go into executive session to discuss the board's legal rights and responsibilities. It was a motion by Board Member Russell Better, seconded by Board Member Burke. And we're going to now vote all in favor of going into executive session, just with a show of hands. It is unanimous, and we are headed into executive session. All right. Hello, everyone. We are back, and we are going to move right into another executive session. So consideration and action to renew the contracts of principal. Oh, excuse me. I am not in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to start over. Consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 20A MRS section 4056D for discussion of a personnel item. Is there a motion? Ms. Bondo, seconded by Ms. Russell Better. All in favor with a show of hands. It's unanimous, and we are going back into executive session. Hello, everyone. We are back, but just momentarily. We are going to go into another executive session. Consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 20A MRS Section 4056E for consultation with legal counsel concerning the board's legal rights and responsibilities. Is there a motion? Board Member Youssef, seconded by Board Member Russell Better. All in favor, just with a show of hands. It's unanimous, and we are back in executive session. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education. It is March 8th, 2022. We're meeting in a blended format with some of us here in person at Casco Bay High School and others joining via Zoom. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bondo.
Présent.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Ms. Russell Better.
Here.
Ms. Biliou.
Here.
Mr. Youssef.
Here.
Ms. Aslami. Mr. McLaughlin. Mr. Alzamili. Ms. Santiago. Ms. Diu. And Chair Figdor.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and school stand, the Wolastoqiyik or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, collectively known as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and our classrooms. Okay, we are starting our business meeting as is customary with public comment. So this is the opportunity to talk about any issue that is on the agenda tonight, as there, if you're here, and I'm going to see if we do have a number of members of the public. So if you're here to talk tonight about a personnel item, this is your opportunity, because we do not, when we get to our agenda, we do not take public comment on personnel items. So with that, if you want to address the board, you'll have 3 minutes. Please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, or come to the front and start by telling us who you are and where you live, and you'll have 3 minutes. So far, I do not see any hands up. Just give folks another minute or so. Okay, seeing no hands up, I'm going to close public comment. And we are going to move now to remarks of the chair. I do not have remarks tonight, so we're going to move right to the superintendent's remarks.
I have no remarks either.
Okay, so we are going right to personnel items. And the first motion is consideration and action to renew the contracts of principals for the 2022-2023 school year who have been employed for 2 years or less, pursuant to MRSA Title 20A, Chapter 504, Section 13301, Employment of Principals. Is there a motion? Board Member Burke, seconded by Board Member Bondo. Mr. Superintendent, would you like to speak to this motion?
1 second, Madam Chair. So we have a list of 6 principals and assistant principals who have been with the school district for less than 2 years. This is by statute, the role of the school board to approve renewals of contracts. And so you have the list in your packet, and I ask that you approve these recommended renewals.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. So are there any questions on this group of 6 administrators who have been employed by the district for 2 or less years? Any questions from the board? There's not public comment on personnel items, so is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. By roll call vote, please indicate whether you support action to renew the contracts of principals for the 2022-2023 school year who have been employed for 2 years or less. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bondo?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ms. Russell-Better?
Yes.
Ms. Biliu?
Yes.
Mr. Youssef?
Yes.
And Chair Figdor?
Yes, so the contracts are unanimously approved. Next, we are moving to our second motion, and the second group of administrators that you're being asked to renew tonight is a group of 25 administrators who have been employed by the district for more than 2 years. So this is consideration and action to renew the contracts of principals for the 2022-2023 school year who have been employed for more than 2 years pursuant to MRSA Title 20A, Chapter 504, Section 13301, Employment of Principals. Is there a motion? Ms. Russell-Better, seconded by Mr. Youssef. Are there any questions on the motion? There's no public comment on personnel items. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we're going to move to a vote. By roll call vote, please indicate whether you support renewing the contracts of this group of 25 principals for the 2022-2023 school year who have been employed for more than 2 years. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bondo?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ms. Russell Better,
Yes.
Ms. Biliu,
Yes.
Mr. Youssef,
Yes.
and Chair Figdor.
Yes. So those contracts are unanimously approved. Next, we move to consideration and action to
Executive session.
enter into an executive session pursuant to 20A MRS Section 4056D for discussing a personnel matter. Is there a motion? Board Member Burke, seconded by Ms. Russell Better. All in favor, just with a show of hands. We are in executive session. Can I have a motion that the Portland Board of Public Education non-renew Kimberly Holmes' contract as assistant principal so that her contract will expire on its termination date of June 30th, 2022. Also, that we adopt findings of fact and reasons for such non-renewal, the findings of fact and reasons contained in the superintendent's recommendation of March 1st, 2022, and that we direct the superintendent to inform Ms. Holmes of the school board's actions and provide her with a copy of the school board's findings of fact and reasons. Ms. Russell Better, seconded by Ms. Bondo. Are there questions on the motion? Seeing none, there is no public comment on personnel items. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, please indicate whether you support the non-renewal of Ms. Holmes' contract. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair, Ms. Bondo,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Russell Better,
Yes.
Ms. Biliu,
Yes.
Mr. Youssef,
Yes.
and Chair Figdor.
Yes, it is unanimous. The contract is not renewed. That is the end of our agenda for the night. Just remind everyone that our next meeting is a week from today on March 15th. And at that meeting, the superintendent will unveil his fiscal year 2023 budget. So I want to thank the board, the superintendent, and the staff for their work tonight. And I hope everyone has a good night. Good evening. Thank you so much.